bad. Okay, we are recording. Everybody, this is being recorded, and we are going to start officially. I'd like to introduce to you Mike Lyons. He's the founder of Soul Japan, Soul being a self-organized learning environment. Awesome idea. I'm excited to hear about it. And there is, if you go to his profile page, you can see a few great videos there, which give some background to the soul concept. So if you haven't seen them yet, after this is over, why don't you go take a look, because they're great. And let's give a hand for Mike. Woo!
Thanks everyone. So Scott included, Suzanne and Mercy and James, do you have any experience with self-organized learning? Have you ever done a session?
I have zero experience. I'm just interested to find out more about it.
Oh. Yeah, I also don't know what it is, or I would like to learn more about it.
Okay.
Yeah, me too.
Right, well, let me start sharing screens, and I can tell you a bit about it, and tell you about my experiences, and tell you a bit about myself.
Mercy says no as well, by the way.
Yes, yes. So first about me, I'm Canadian. I've been in Japan for about 33, 34 years, mostly in the Nagoya area. For about the last 30 years, I've been in the Nagoya area. I became interested in self-organized learning about, well, 15 years ago. At the time, Sugata Mitra wasn't very famous. Sugata Mitra is the guy who started it all. I became interested in it because it was a revolutionary type of approach to teaching. You know, anti-establishment is what it was. And I was really interested in that because I'm an anti-establishment kind of guy. And at the time I had a young son, and I wasn't really happy about putting my young son through the Japanese school system, which is so establishment. So one thing led to another, and I just became really interested in self-organized learning. Again, I'll tell you more about what it is in a few minutes. And I actually tried my first session in 2015. And yeah, here's a picture of it, a photo I took. This was at Meijo University in Nagoya. And, you know, it's a pretty good university, but the students generally are not that keen on English. And my English conversation classes at Meijo University, well, they were okay. The students paid attention, but they weren't all that enthusiastic until I did this class. And I'd never seen anything like this class before. I didn't know what to expect when I went into it, but I introduced self-organized learning to the students. I told them what it was. I told them what they were going to do. And then I let them start. And I had never seen such focus and such enthusiasm in a Japanese university class. How it's so extreme that it's really difficult for me to say, you know, to put into words. But at the end of that session, the session ended just at lunchtime, something like 12:10 p.m. And I said, okay, that's it now. Come on, everyone out. It's time to go. They wouldn't leave. I had about 30 students in the class, and I could push out one or two groups at 12:10, though they didn't want to leave. But the other groups, yeah, I really had to nag them to leave. And the last group left almost 45 minutes late, and only because I was yelling at them to cut it out and leave, you know, stop doing this. And they were all in English, and they were all entirely focused. So it was really inspirational for me. Anyway, let me go back in time a little bit and explain about self-organized learning. and how it all started. So it started in Delhi in about 1998, 1999, when this man, Professor Sugata Mitra, who wasn't a professor at the time, he was a computer scientist. He was working in computer sciences in Delhi's, Delhi's many computer science companies. And he was doing some computer engineering, and he had to go to his beautiful shiny office every day, walking through the slums of Delhi, and he wasn't really happy about it. So he decided to gift the kids outside some computers that they could play with, just sort of to see what would happen. And so he used his money and he embedded some computers in a wall, and you can sort of see them here. The computers were at a good height for kids to play with, and there were 3 or 4 computers. They could not take the computers out of the wall, and they, couldn't touch the screens. They could just play with the keyboards, and I think there was a trackpad too. And it was 1998, 1999, so they did what they could. These kids in the picture are slum kids, mostly illiterate, 0 English, or just English that they could pick up through off the streets or off radio or off TV. They had never touched a computer before. They had never heard of the internet. Most of them did not go to school at all. And there were no adults supervising this area. The kids chatted with each other. They played with these incredible tech toys. And when they learned something, they would say to each other, "Hey, if you move the mouse, if you move the pointer over the little picture, and if you press here, then something happens. Look." Sort of they helped each other. They scaffolded each other, and they learned from each other. And in an incredibly short period of time, a matter of 2 or 3 weeks, they went from being computer illiterate to being computer literate with no mentoring except each other. I mean, there were no adults. There was no teacher. Just a bunch of kids starting from 0 and getting to computer literacy in a very short amount of time. And so Sugata Mitra, who was a computer scientist and a chemical engineer, I think, he identified this as a self-organizing system. And so he labeled it as self-organized learning. And he did this experiment again and again in India. And then he took the experiment to Europe. And he labeled these environments where kids gather in front of a computer console as an environment, self-organized learning environment, SOL for short. So for 10 years or so, he worked really hard and he did these experiments again and again. He got a position at Newcastle University in the UK. And in 2013, he was awarded the TED Prize for his work. He got $1 million. If you have never seen a Sugata Mitra TED Talk, I can't recommend them highly enough. He is an inspiring and a very entertaining speaker. So go to the TED website, watch. He has, I think, 3 TED Talks. They're all wonderful. They're all really funny. I've had the pleasure of talking to him myself a few times, and he's a delightful and really funny person, and he's a genius too. So what are souls? They're self-organized learning environments, and environments can be where kids huddle around a computer terminal, or they can be online, or in a greater sense, they can be all of society. Where you have a community of practice who want to solve who want to solve a problem on their own and they don't have any mentoring, they just work together, that's a community of practice. And that's a soul. So what's the basic method of running a soul in class? Like I did in that first picture. The basic method is the facilitator poses a big question to the students. A big question is, a question that cannot be answered easily in a short amount of time, and that a big question is a question that that encompasses several disciplines, and also something that inspires the kids. The facilitator poses a big question, and then the students search the internet, self-organized in groups, and they try to solve that question. After doing that, they report their findings. Just note, I put in gray, students form groups of 3 or 4. They do that on their own, and students report their findings. These are points specific to in-class souls. But personally, I'm much more interested in online souls, and I have been since long before the pandemic. So the basic method for an online soul is the facilitator poses a big question to the students. Well, first of all, the students gather online. The facilitator poses a big question. This facilitator decides on the groups and puts the kids in breakout rooms. Again, that's different from in class where the students choose their own groups. It's kind of an important differential. And students search the internet, self-organized to try to solve the question. That's the same. Students report their findings, typically using presentation software. In class, they'll just report their findings using bits of paper or just talking. But online, it's more convenient to use presentation software. So anyway, a couple of little differences between in-class and online ones. They're fairly important if you want to do online souls. I talked about souls to one of my colleagues who was working at a university in Kobe. And she said to me, but that's already commonplace. People already do that all the time. And that's true, they do. They do this all the time, but it's also not true. The difference between a soul and just putting kids in groups and having them do a project. Well, I think the main thing is that souls are minimally invasive. Souls do not have teachers telling the kids what to do at all. This is almost ideal. There's no teacher here, no one around. They're on their own. And that's almost ideal. Though I think in the years following that initial experiment, Subhagata Mitra found, and consequent research found, that it's good to have a low-level mentor, a facilitator, what he calls a granny, somebody who goes around and says, ooh, that's nice. How did you do that? That's just amazing. But does not offer ideas and does not influence or prejudice the students at all. And that's quite a difficult skill to learn. I think it's one of the big problems with doing souls for the first time. It's difficult to do it without giving in to the the need to help out your students. If your students are looking lost, we teachers feel like we have to step in and help them out. But once again, there's no teacher here. And these kids learned a huge amount in a very short time. So did these kids, because I bit my lip and I did not help them at all. It hurt. I mean, I really wanted to help them, but I didn't, just to see what would happen. And I was glad that I didn't. Anyways, so it's already commonplace to do those group activities, yeah, and inquiry-based learning, yeah, and project-based learning, yeah. It's already common to do that, but it's not common to do that when you step back and you allow the kids to do it on their own. Or do it on their own. I mean, to do it in communities of practice where you allow those communities to form and to become strong. I'm going to tell you about what happened to me well before the pandemic. So if you look at this map of the world over here, there's this little red mark, that's me. I was in Japan in the, around 2013, 2014, just after Sugata Mitra won the TED Prize. Sugata Mitra was here in the UK in Sheffield. And there were some other people involved in souls in Colombia, Mexico, a couple in the USA, Argentina, Italy, oh, Australia too. Sorry, I don't have a red dot. But there were a few people around the world. And I contacted Newcastle University because I wanted to get involved in the movement. And I got invited to a little Skype call, a Skype group call. And it was really inspiring because people from all over the world joined that call. I think it was about 3 a.m. in Japan, but I stayed up for it. And I got to meet these wonderful people. They were doing amazing things, especially in South America. And we all had this wonderful chat. And following it, I was most interested in the guy in Italy who said he wanted to do souls online. He wanted to have his students and students in other countries do souls together. And so I said I wanted to do it too. And he said, yay, let's do it. So he and I chatted for a couple of years to try to make it happen. But yeah, it's Italy, In Italy right now, it's about 7 a.m. and it's coming up to 8 a.m. in Italy. And it's not a great time for students there. And it's not a great time for students here in Japan either. So it was kind of difficult to get us to do an online soul together. And in the end, we just didn't. We're still hoping to in the future, but we haven't done an online soul together yet. Yeah. Then I said, I got a bit frustrated that wasn't working. So I made friends here in Japan with a teacher. That's me, by the way, in Gifu. And I made friends with a teacher in Fukushima. Fukushima. That's it, Fukushima in the Yokohama area. And with someone in the Kyoto area. And yeah, the three of us started doing online souls together. The guy in Kyoto, he's a Eikaiwa teacher, an American, and the guy in Fukushima, he's a Juku teacher. And we're all school owners, and we all wanted to do this, and we all have kids. We're all basically very similar. And the three of us started doing online souls together. And we started doing it weekly and then bi-weekly, twice a week, 3 times a week. We had a great time. Our students loved it. And then finally, we decided to meet up. So that's the three of us. It's me on the right, and John from Kyoto, and Hiroaki from the Yokohama area. Yeah, the three of us had a great time together, and we became partners. And the three of us decided that we wanted to do international souls too. Again, so we decided to mix our 3 schools with schools overseas. We asked Italy if they could do it, and we tried, but that, again, the time difference is a real problem. The 3 of us wound up doing international souls, though, with a school in Vancouver, Canada, and then where else? India. We did a great one with India. And then we did one, massive one, with a great big public school in Mexico, involving a school in California and a teacher in what was that? I know, somewhere else in South America. We had people from all over the Americas and Asia, and it was really interesting. The kids in Mexico prepared for months, and they made this wonderful video introducing their town. And man, it was a fantastic experience for all of us. Yeah. Following that, the 3 of us decided to make a website to make this process a lot easier. We thought about what the primary challenges were in making it happen. And the primary challenges in making it happen and the secondary challenges in making it happen are they're the meat of what this presentation is about. How do you make it happen? So the primary challenges are finding a willing partner. How do you find someone somewhere who wants to do a soul with you? It's not easy. You have to really search. You have to, contact people all over the world. And it takes time. It takes months or, years. And then you have to match schedules. You have to find someone who's in the correct time zone or whose time zone and teaching schedule matches your time zone and teaching schedule. That's hard as well. And then you have to agree on a language of presentation, because after the souls, the students are going to present what they found. And if you're doing a soul with someone in Argentina who wants to do their presentations in Spanish, it doesn't really help school in Japan, where the presentations are generally either in Japanese or in English. And yeah, then there are secondary details. What platform are you going to use? Until 2020, Zoom was really not popular. And my partners and I tried a whole bunch of different platforms, Adobe Connect and many others. And we found in the end that Zoom is the best. But yeah, until 2020, we hadn't decided on that. And once you decide on a platform, you also have to decide a detailed lesson plan with your international co-host. And yeah, how much is it going to cost? Who pays who? I guess the students are paying for lessons, but who gets money? And is there money, is there money specifically for the soul? Or who pays for the Zoom room? There's so many things to decide there. Is there a waiver? And that's connected with the recording. Are you allowed to record? Do the students mind being recorded? And if they're underage, you have to get waivers signed from parents, depending on the country. Different countries have different rules, but this is international. So, you have to, you have to be as strict as you can and as careful as you can, because you definitely don't want to get into trouble with these things, these sessions. But generally speaking, you do want to record them. And after the session, how do students give feedback? These are a whole bunch of things that you have to decide before the session starts. And the main thing to decide really is the big question. What are you going, what are you going to talk about during the, what's the big question that the students are going to research during the session? So there's a lot to decide. And these three main points and the secondary details, they can take so long and so much work, so many phone calls and so many emails back and forth. John and Hiroaki and I did it with each other many times. And we did it with, international sessions a good number of times. And we decided that it's a whole lot of work. But once you've done it a few times, it starts to get easier, like many other things that we do in life. Once you've set up these international sessions a few times, you start to figure out what's important, what has to be decided first, and how it needs to be how it needs to be done. So the three of us, well, actually, it was mostly Hiroaki and I, we decided to set up a website, and I'm going to show it to you now. It's sold online. This is a free website that we've set up. It's not going to be free forever, but for now it's free. International collaboration through self-organized learning environments. And we have this calendar here with various search functions. So let's say you want to do a session for lower secondary, junior high school students, and you want to do it in the evenings, your time, and you want to do it on Thursdays, your time. You want the language of presentation to be English. And you can search. Is something going to happen? Oh, sorry, there are currently none found. But if we did it for Mondays, what would happen then? Oh yeah, there are several sessions for Mondays. So let's choose this one on Friday, February 15th, if you want to search there. And these are some of the details. It's a 1-hour session. It starts at 9 p.m. JST. If you're connecting from India, then this is going to display in IST, Indian Standard Time. We have the time. Yeah, it will change according to your local area. The day, of course, too. And this particular session is for either upper elementary or lower secondary. The host country is Japan, and the type of education that's, the type of school that is instituting this particular session is a dedicated Seoul school. In actual fact, it's my partner Hiroaki's school that's doing it. Now, if you want to join this, you just need to log in or register for the system, and then you can apply to join. Hiroaki will contact you, and you will get back to, Hiroaki will run you through all of these things, and you can agree on these things in a couple of emails, and everything will be all set. Yeah, there. Yeah, that's my website. That's our website. And one sec. I just lost it. This is our website. Yes, if you have any questions about the website, or if you have any questions about my soul experiences, or if you have any questions about anything, now is the time. I'd love to hear from you.
So if you got anybody, you can unmute yourself, and if you have any specific questions about how you might implement that, or what would be a good starter, maybe I'll just ask myself instead of giving ideas. What would you say would be a good, first of all, ages? What would be a good age to start doing this? And then what would be your recommended starter project for that? Because you've done a few, you know, like, oh, that didn't work. But you know, there's always the one that you thought, well, I wish I had done this one first, something like that.
Geez. Well, the age group that I started with was university. What's the best age to start with? No, I can't answer that. It really depends on you and what language you want to use. I would not recommend doing an English start. I would not recommend starting in English with Japanese kindergartners. It's going to be kind of difficult for them to do it in a second language that they have almost nothing, no basis in at all. But upper elementary is just fine for Japanese kids to do it. Upper elementary up until tertiary is all good.
Great. What, and up to this date, what's the youngest age that you've done it with your partners?
Lower elementary, first, second, third grader. I don't remember doing it. Wait a minute, I did do it once with a kindergartner. It was mostly first, second graders, but a couple of kindergartners were in there as well. They were fine.
What topic did you cover? What sort of project did you cover with the lower elementary students?
That one we did, you know, I think that the big question was what bugs are edible.
Oh, nice.
I think so. I don't remember. It's a long time ago, and there have been a lot of souls in the interim. But we often chose kind of funny ones for the younger kids, and we choose extremely challenging topics for the older kids. Like if you we generally go one or two school levels above the kids' level for a big question. Let me give you a quick example. A junior high school group, one level above that would be secondary, upper secondary, so high school, and two levels above that would be university. So if I'm doing a junior high school soul, I will challenge them with a university level question.
Okay.
Sugata did this too with kids in, well, if you want to find out more about Sugata experiments and have your jaw drop, just watch his TED Talks. But he did some awesome things with kids who could not speak English in places where there was almost no educational bases. He was just, his experiments blew me and blew people around the world away, and blew himself away, and blew the kids away. And in my case, when I did my first university soul, remember the kids had never done it before. They were doing it in English, and they were first year students at a not particularly good university. Mm-hmm. And I gave them a postgraduate level question. The question I gave them, this is in 2016. The question I gave them was, what are the white spots on Ceres? And they said, what Ceres? And I said, I'm not going to tell you. Find out what it is yourself. In fact, if I don't know if you guys know what the white spots on Ceres are, but they have recently been proven to be ice, I guess. But in 2016, nobody knew what the white spots in Ceres were. Ceres is an asteroid somewhere between Mars and Jupiter. So these kids did not know what Ceres was, and nobody in the world knew what the white spots were. But the kids went into the internet for 90 minutes, about 85 minutes actually, and they did their research, and they came up with English presentations with, some seriously good research.
So when they're researching, you're letting them research in their, I guess, native language, and just because there's that presentation component, then they're translating it over, or they're converting it into an English.
That's exactly right. The presentation component in my classes is an English thing because I'm an English teacher. They have to do the presentation in English. That's sort of the part two of it. Part one of it's the soul, and that's completely freestyle. I said you can study in any language, research in any language you want. And for the most part, they choose their own native languages.
And so the question that you pose at the beginning, I can imagine for like university students or high school students, even if the language of the question is more difficult, they're able to look it up on their own. But let's say for like younger students, since you're giving them a question that's at a level that's higher, do you ever run into issues where the students don't understand the question at all and you have to translate it, or?
Yeah. So as far as language problems go, that's what I'm there for. But I tell the kids that that's all I'm there for. I'm your language assistant. If you really need me, go and use the computer language translation as much as you can. But if you can't do that, I'm here to help.
Okay.
But that's all I'm here for. Right?
Yeah, thank you.
No problem. James, did you have a question?
How much time would you give them for research and then for them to put together a presentation? Because to put together a presentation can also take quite a lot of time. So like in a one lesson, how would you do that?
Yeah, it's a really, really good question. It really depends on the class. Generally speaking, in a 90-minute SOL, you would give about 45 to 50 minutes for maybe an hour for the research. And during that time, the kids should be working on their presentation at the same time. For non-native English speakers who need language help, you sort of adjust the amount of time that you give. Also, the number of students compared to the number of language assistants, that's also an issue. Like if there are only 10 students and you have 5 English teachers helping, then you don't need to spend too much time adjusting the English because the English teacher can help each student individually pretty quickly. But if there's only one teacher and 10 kids, then you need to, give a little bit more time for language checking. But generally speaking, I would give about an hour or so of a 90-minute session to research.
Okay, thank you for that.
Mercy, did you have any questions you can, type in?
No questions so far from Mercy. If you want to, maybe she's typing it up now. If you want to ask a question there, Mercy, I'll just read it off for you.
So for all of you, I can't stress enough how cool it is when these things work. Self-organized learning is like any self-organizing system.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that must be James, background noise from James.
No, it's not me, sorry.
Oh, Mercy's the one with the dog. I've got a dog too, Mercy.
Sorry.
It's okay. What kind of dog do you have?
Hey, baby, no.
Anyway, it's really inspiring when you do these sessions, because self-organizing systems, they're like acts of nature. They are acts of nature. You know, when self-organization happens, it's what's supposed to happen. And when it happens in a classroom and you see it happen in a classroom, you see, oh, this is what education is supposed to be. It's what scaffolding and learning is supposed to be. And it's truly inspirational. One of the, it's the best experience I've had in my teaching career is watching kids self-organize and learn that way.
I have one more question, sorry.
Go
How
ahead.
do you mark them during the lesson? Like how on participation, or like how would you stop like the higher level students basically taking over the class speaking?
So if I were, well, I don't want to share screens again. I would just wind up going back to that first one I did. Oh, no one took over. They helped each other, because that's what happens in self-organization.
You try to emphasize that point, right, during the class?
I didn't need to emphasize it. It's just what happens.
Okay.
It's an act of nature. It's what people do. If you can kind of imagine yourself back, say, in 2020 in March or so, March or April, when all the teachers around us, everyone was going a bit nuts, saying, what do we do now? And you probably chatted with your friends and you sort of figured out what to do. You probably remember that nobody bossed anyone else. We all helped each other. That's what happens in self-organization.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's just natural. When it works properly, nobody takes the lead. Everybody is the leader. Everyone is the follower. Everyone scaffolds each other.
Okay, well, we're coming up to our 17-minute mark, the 2 bonus minutes. So I just want to say thank you from my side. Yeah, it's so lovely to listen in on the the things that we thought were impossible, or the things that felt impossible, because eikaiwa, you're always moving fast. There's always it's always challenging to think about these the idealistic things, to have someone who's done it and given some concrete ways to maybe make that happen. I really appreciate that, so thank you very much.
No, thank you. And if
we'll turn off we'll turn off our let's not unmute ourselves and give Mike a digital hand.
Yeah, if anybody wants to chat with me about this anytime, or if you want to link up your schools with mine for an online Zoom Soul, man, I'd love it. I'd love to do a Soul with you guys anytime.
All right, one more question, Mike. Is there any more reading material on this, on Soul?
Yeah, go to my website. There are links. Just follow links.
What? The soulonline.org.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, soulonline.org. Go there, and do you want me to put that in chat? I'll just type it.
I wrote it down personally, but I don't. Some other people might want to.
Soulonline.org. Go ahead, click on it, and have some fun. Register. Put your own sessions up there. But I recommend that you kind of do a Soul with me first, because that training about giving your kids some space, it's kind of hard to do the first time.
I guess you would have to say you got to have soul.
Scott, you're
Suzanne is like, he did it. He just did it. Oh my gosh.
I'm saying you're one of my soulmates. It's what's happening.
Thank you,
Oh,
sir. Thank
soulmate, get it?
Boom. Okay, well, we're gonna shut her down so people can get out and get some breaks before the next seminar. So everybody, thanks for coming out today.
Yeah.
If you have any questions, you can ask Mike. You can, I think you can. We can get in touch with you via your profile page, Mike?
Absolutely, anytime.
Great.
Thanks,
Great.
everyone.
Okay, well, you guys have a good day. Bye.
Ciao.
Thank you. Bye.